Well, hey there, Diet Disruptors. Carrie here. And in honor of our series that we are doing right now on supplementation, I have a guest for you that is going to educate you in a way that I don't think has ever been done before. I don't care if you have talked to your doctors about this topic. There is nobody that I have met that understands more about this than Natalie. Natalie from Be Rooted In is an expert in magnesium. And magnesium, as my doctor told me, and as I know as a health professional, is something that many of us are deficient in, that many of us need, that many of us are not getting enough of, and that's the cause of a lot, can be attributed to so many different things that are going on in our body. So this is going to be an educational podcast episode unlike any other. And it just fits in with our whole series on supplementation. I always say that supplementation, supplemental kinds of either activities or the things that we're going to talk about here, vitamins and minerals, they're not necessarily the foundation. We know, and Natalie and I have talked about this so many times, the foundation is around like our food choices, our lifestyle, movement, but we have to fill the gaps that those things are not going to be able to do entirely on their own. But we can't just rely on supplements to be the cure for all the things, right? And I love how Natalie and I have a very similar mindset about all of that. When you hear her story, it's going to resonate. And I mean, wealth of knowledge is where she is. You're the first person I want to go when I'm on the Instagram or the TikTok. I don't have the TikTok anymore because I deleted it and I can't download it. But on the Instagram, you're like the first one I want to go see because you educate me so much on magnesium, but on so many other things. So welcome. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to talk about my absolute favorite topic in the world, which is magnesium.
That is funny to me. I don't think anybody else has a favorite topic of magnesium.
Yeah, if you had told me 10 years ago, hey, you're going to love and be obsessed with this mineral, I would have said, no, you're crazy. But it's made such an epic difference in how I feel, how I operate, in my health overall, that I'm utterly obsessed with it.
Well, it's funny because when I first met you, we were actually in a Facebook group together or something. And I was just kind of putting it out there. I'm like, this is what I do. Who else out there has some synergy? And you're like, I love magnesium. I want to talk about magnesium. I'm like, well, okay, let's talk about magnesium. And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, I'm a little crazy about it, but yeah, absolutely.
Somebody needs to be, and you are doing such amazing work in this. So let's just dig in. Why magnesium? Why are we dedicating an entire episode to magnesium? Why have you dedicated your life to magnesium? It must be important.
Yeah, absolutely. So magnesium is a foundational mineral. It is absolutely foundational when it comes to nutrition. It's present in every single one of our trillions of cells. It's involved with over 700 different reactions in our body. And if we didn't have it, we would just stop living. It would be the end of us. It is that, yeah, it is. Everything from nerve conduction to the way our muscles to work to our blood sugar regulation, all of that depends on magnesium, right? So we need to get enough of it every single day. Unfortunately, about 70% of the American population fails to meet those needs every day. So it's like 7 out of 10 people are struggling to get enough magnesium. And so we're seeing all these wild and crazy symptoms, and people are just wondering, hey, why is it I can't sleep at night? Why is it I'm getting restless legs? Why do I have leg cramps? Why do I have headaches that won't go away? Why do I feel so stressed out when I shouldn't really be feeling so stressed out? Mm-hmm. All of that can be tied back to low magnesium.
So why is it that we are getting such low levels of magnesium?
Oh, that right there, that's the buzz question. That's the
look at me.
You went right to it.
Woo.
So part of it, of course, is the standard American diet is simply not a diet that is nutrient dense. Right. So we see not just magnesium being low, but, vitamin D being low in so many people struggling to get enough potassium. All those nutrients tend to be very low just because our diets are not very, very well balanced, right? But outside of that, there are a few other factors that we need to consider as well. So things like our farming practices have changed dramatically over the past 50 to 100 years. Your basic orange doesn't have as much vitamin C in it as it did 50 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing over across the board that nutrients are less and less and less. I mean, when we think about it, we want our produce out of season. We want it on demand at the grocery store, and we want to make sure that there's no blemishes or bumps or dots on our produce as well. And that means that they need to spray it with pesticides. That means that they have to turn over the soil much, much faster so it's not rich in minerals like it used to be. And ultimately, that does affect our nutrition. But
Yeah.
outside of that, we're not doing what we did hundreds of years ago, like many, many, many years ago. We used to bathe in our streams, right? We used to drink water from the earth that was already rich in minerals, and we would absorb it in our bath. We'd absorb it in our water.
Mhm.
Now our water is chlorinated, fluorinated, ultra processed, and completely depleted of minerals.
Is that crazy that even our water is problematic?
It is. It is absolutely wild. Basically, everything we're consuming, can be a little bit problematic. Now, I'm not, by no means am I saying go bathe naked in your local stream. That is a terrible idea. Don't do that. There are ways. There are ways that we can manipulate our water that we bathe in, by adding back minerals to our water that we drink in. So there are things that we can do to offset that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So that makes a lot of sense. And it's true about so many different aspects of our health being attributed to the way food just is presented to us today, as well as the toxins in our environment, all of that kind of stuff. And I would also argue that, and I think we'll get into this, but like even when we're taking vitamins and minerals, depending on how we're consuming them, we don't even absorb all of that. Like when we think about nutrient absorption, that's a problem as well for us because of all of the things that you were just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, like there's very little regulation over supplement industry to begin with. There's the FDA doesn't exactly regulate to make sure that what your label says is what you're actually getting. So we have that giant hurdle to jump over. And then we have the giant hurdle that many of us have impaired gut health, right? So
Yep.
we're leaky gut, malabsorption, Crohn's and all these other disorders that impact what we're absorbing. And then when we look at in particular things like magnesium can be a little bit of a diva. She doesn't play well with certain other nutrients. So we have to be aware of when we're taking magnesium and making sure that it's far apart from other nutrients like iron and calcium in order to improve the absorption. So, there are certain hurdles that we need to get over. But the beautiful thing is we can get over those hurdles. We can learn, we can adjust, and we can make everything work for us.
Okay, say more about what you mean when magnesium doesn't play well with others.
So magnesium and calcium, they both need each other. We need both.
There's such a connection. I just got my bone density test. I had one earlier because I went through menopause so early, and I have osteopenia in my mild in my left hip. And he's like, you gotta increase your calcium. And the magnesium is there's a connection. But I really had to think about all that I was taking in terms of my supplements. So I would love for you to expand on that because this is a really important piece, I think, for so many women, especially as they get older.
Absolutely. So when I'm speaking about like the nutrients kind of fighting for absorption, this doesn't mean food. Like food comes in its perfect balance, right? You don't have to worry about your food groups fighting for each other because the nutrients are in perfect balance. They have the right cofactors. Like nature does it and does it right, right?
Yeah.
But if we are going to supplement, we're taking a mega dose of one specific nutrient at a time, right? So we have to be aware what we're pairing with it. So magnesium and calcium, actually magnesium, calcium, vitamin D, and K2, they all play well together. They all need to be in perfect harmony, right? However, magnesium and calcium, if you take a mega dose at the same time, they're going to fight for space on that cell, right? So they're competing for absorption, which means one of them is going to bully the other one out of it. Now, we need both of them in our body. Like, for instance, magnesium is responsible for relaxing our muscles. Calcium is responsible for tightening our muscles. So when we think about our heart, we need both of those. We need it to tighten and relax several times a day, right? So we need both of them in our system, but we just have to be aware that if we are going to take a mega dose of both of them at the same time, they are going to compete for absorption. So we have to be.
What do you mean by mega dose?
So like, anytime you're taking a supplement, some supplements will give you an entire day's worth of magnesium or entire day's worth of calcium. And it's perfectly fine, they're meant to really quickly boost your levels. But when you're taking a whole day's worth of one nutrient at a time, your body needs a little leeway in order to process that. So we need to be aware of what we're taking at the same time. Because in nature, we don't take 100% of our magnesium. There's no food that has 100% of your magnesium in it, right? So in order to mimic nature, I always tell people to break up your supplements if you're able to. If you have a magnesium supplement that's 2 pills for one serving, try and take it at different times just so we can kind of mimic the way that nature works in our body. But if you're not able to do that, just make sure that you spread out that magnesium 2 hours apart from your calcium and 2 hours apart from your iron, because those are the biggest ones that are going to fight with magnesium.
That's so interesting. I did not know that. That is so great. I knew that there was like some fighting there, but I didn't know like that's how you could kind of hack that and do that. Okay, that's super helpful. Now let's talk about magnesium supplements in general, because Natalie, it's very confusing.
It is.
When you look at magnesium, you see all sorts of magnesium. And so how do we know the difference, and like, what do we need? What's right? What's wrong? Like, help us.
Absolutely. So that is the biggest issue that people face when they start supplementing with magnesium. So like you hear, a crazy obsessed woman talk about magnesium all the time.
Like you.
Right? And then you run out to the grocery store, or you run out to the health store, or you're on Amazon and you're ready to buy magnesium. You're all excited. And then there's like 14 different types. And you're like, which one? Which one's the best? Like the number one question I get is, which type is the best?
Yes.
And there is no answer for which type is going to be the best per se. It comes down to making sure you're taking a form of magnesium that your body does well with and that has a high bioavailability. So there are certain types you just across the board want to avoid because they're not going to absorb very well for anybody. So that type is magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide only absorbs at a rate of 4%, meaning the other 96% is going to go right through your digestive system and probably have you stuck in the bathroom all day long. And that's just unpleasant. Yes, that's unpleasant. We don't want that.
Okay.
So unfortunately, magnesium oxide is the most commonly recommended by healthcare practitioners and the cheapest one that you're going to find on the market.
Okay.
So it's very
That is so interesting, because I don't know if you remember, but it was probably like a year ago. I texted you because you have a resource on your site, which we'll make sure we link in our show notes, on all the different types of magnesium. And I literally open that. Like, I've texted you before. I'm like, can you send that to me? I open it all the time. And about a year ago or so, I was with my sister-in-law who was pregnant at the time, and her doctor prescribed her magnesium. And she's like, I just don't feel it. I don't think it's doing anything for me. I don't feel any different. And she was suffering with like sleep issues and like leg cramps. And the doctor was like, yeah, you are blood test showed she was definitely low in magnesium. So then prescribed her magnesium, and I looked at it and I sent to you, and it was magnesium oxide.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, it is the biggest misconception.
That frustrates me so much.
Yeah, and there's actually a dark history behind it. Like when they first started doing research on magnesium, when they were trying to develop like the RDA for magnesium, they needed to have, subjects in their trial, and they were giving them magnesium. Well, a company that created magnesium oxide said, here, use ours in your studies, use our magnesium to as the type that you're going to use in your studies. So they based the RDA off of magnesium oxide, and the barometer for that study, the parameters that they used was, we're going to give people magnesium until it affects their stomach, right? So we're just going to keep giving them magnesium. And then when they start to have, diarrhea and loose stools, that must mean that they've had enough magnesium. Well, we know that only 4% of that magnesium gets absorbed, and you're very likely to get, loose stools taking magnesium oxide. So basing that parameter off of magnesium oxide doesn't really tell us how much magnesium we need.
It's
so it is kind of
the oxide part of it.
Yeah, it's telling you how much you need to have, stomach issues using a form of magnesium that gives you stomach issues. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
So when we say a form of magnesium, help explain what this means because you do a really nice job of explaining the fact that magnesium needs a buddy. So it's
Mhm.
not necessarily that this is actually a clarifying question. It's not necessarily that the magnesium is different, it's the buddy that's different. Am I right?
Yep,
Must I
100%.
listen to you? All right, explain.
Sure, sure. So our bodies aren't going to recognize magnesium just by itself. It needs like a friend to carry it, hold its hand, and bring it into our body, and so that our body can recognize it and process it. That's what gives us
That's
all
so
the information.
interesting how we even figured that out, but that's probably a whole nother conversation. Anyway,
Totally, totally. So we need magnesium to have, like, whenever you hear magnesium glycinate, that's magnesium plus glycine, right? And glycine is something that our body recognizes. Glycine naturally makes us relaxed, right? So oftentimes people will tell you, well, if you have a hard time sleeping, take magnesium glycinate. It's because the magnesium is going to help you relax, plus you get the extra combination of the glycine, so you're kind of hitting it from two angles.
right. Okay.
Magnesium malate is magnesium with malic acid. Malic acid tends to help us with energy production and helps our muscles not be so tight and fatigued. So
Okay.
that's why people like it for muscle issues and for energy production. So
But if you wanted both, so
you
if you
could
wanted
totally,
both, you could.
yeah, absolutely. You can actually take magnesium complexes that have a couple different forms of magnesium all in one. That's what I like to do just because it makes it really easy to supplement with. But yeah, you could totally, or you could take, malate during the day and then glycinate at nighttime if you prefer to do that. So the thing is that some people just are more sensitive to, for instance, glycine. So if you're taking magnesium glycinate, maybe that glycine is kind of making you a little anxious, or maybe that glycine is kind of affecting you in a way. The easy thing to do is just take a different type. Move to magnesium malate. So when I tell people, like, there's no perfect type of magnesium, it's because, one form of magnesium, just your body might like it a little bit more, and that
Mhm.
the one that you want to take.
Today's episode is brought to you by Be Rooted In, a magnesium lotion that also has essential oils in it. And if you are like me, you are going to need it as part of your daily routine because it is that luxurious and that beneficial. Magnesium is actually a mineral that most of us need. And if we're taking a capsule, I hate to tell you, but it's probably not doing what you think it is. When I first talked to my functional nutritionist, she had told me magnesium lotion is the way to go. And I could not find any on the market that weren't greasy or that had ingredients that I felt good about actually absorbing into my skin. And then I met Natalie. I love that she is a fellow female entrepreneur, but Natalie has wrapped her mind, her heart, and her soul all around the benefits of magnesium and why we need it so much. Sleep, stress, pain, so many different functions in our body rely on us having high levels of magnesium. And magnesium lotion is such an amazing way to be able to have it. Her products, which help with sleep or pain or tranquility, because of the essential oils in it and because of the high amount of magnesium, it is an absolutely essential part of my daily routine, and I can't wait for you to try it as well. If you go to my website, carrielupoli.com, go check out my favorite products, click on the link for magnesium lotion, and I have a special code for you too to be able to get 20% off your first order.
Really started learning about magnesium. I was talking to my functional medical practitioner years ago, and she said to me, I really like magnesium lotion. I prefer that over taking capsules, is what she told me. And I was like, okay, why? And she told me about absorption in your skin and all of that. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we can absolutely take supplements, we can take our pills and powders, that type of thing. And typically when you take the pill or a powder, you're making up for any kind of deficiencies in your diet, right? So, if maybe it's the holidays and you ate a lot of sugar and you're not eating as well as you normally do, you might have to make up for some deficiencies in your diet. When we use magnesium topically, and so topically means your sprays, your gels, your creams, and your baths, anything that goes on your skin, it absorbs into our system in about 5 minutes. And we're able to target it where we need it. So for instance, if you were dealing with leg cramps, if you were to take a magnesium pill, that magnesium is going to get into your digestive tract. It takes about 20 to 45 minutes, and then it's going to get dispersed throughout your entire body. Some of it will wind up in your muscle tissue in your leg, but the rest of it's going to go all over the place when
But
you use
also,
it.
depending on our level of nutrient absorption,
True.
in general, in terms of our overall health,
Yep.
we may only be absorbing even a part of that.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that adds a whole nother layer onto it as well. So if you're dealing with the leg cramps, you can literally put the magnesium on your leg and it'll get right into that tissue right away. So we're able to quickly target certain areas of our body by using magnesium topically. And then, of course, like what you said, using it on your skin, it bypasses the digestive tract. It goes right into your tissues really, really quickly. So if you do deal with, leaky gut or any kind of gut issues, it's a fabulous way to get more magnesium. Also, if you've ever taken magnesium pills or powders and they kind of, give you a stomach ache, or if they may leave you nauseous, this is a perfect way to get your magnesium, and it's safe. There's no risk of overdose. So you're not going to overdose on magnesium through your skin. So you can use it on your kids, you can use it on your elderly grandmother, you can use it while you're pregnant, and you don't have that extra layer of concern on top of that as well.
It's interesting because when I was asking you, my primary care physician was saying, okay, well, how much magnesium do you take? And I'm like, well, I have a lotion. She's like, well, how much do you take? And I'm like, I don't know. I just put it on me. Like, how do we know that we're putting on enough? And I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know that I can, but like, how do I respond to that? And how do I know that I'm actually putting enough on?
Yeah, so there was a study done, I believe it was in 2010, and that study showed that by using 500 milligrams of magnesium chloride twice a day, the participants were able to raise their magnesium levels by close to 60% in 12 weeks. So in order,
was that in a capsule, magnesium chloride?
magnesium chloride on their skin. So it was
magnesium
500
chloride on
milligrams.
their skin.
Yeah, so
500 grams.
milligrams, yep.
Milligrams. Okay.
Yep. So, they were using, I believe they were using a magnesium spray or a magnesium lotion, but it had 500 milligrams of magnesium chloride in every use. So they were able to do that, and it raised their levels really, really quickly. And to get that kind of huge raise in magnesium by taking a pill or a powder, it would take anywhere from 9 to 24 months. So
wow.
It's a huge difference when you use it topically. Now, there aren't enough studies done on topical magnesium in the United States that show exactly how much is going to get absorbed into your body. The other side of that is we do know that the more deficient you are, the more you're going to absorb. So our body kind of has this beautiful homeostasis that it tries to maintain. So if you're really low in magnesium and you put it on your skin, you're going to suck up a whole bunch of it. And if you're not so low, if you're just kind of doing maintenance, you're going to absorb what your body needs. So there is really no way to say, how much am I getting from this?
Yeah.
But the goal is to aim for 500 milligrams of magnesium chloride twice a day. If you do that, you're going to be in a really good spot.
So yeah, when I use magnesium lotion now, it's part of my self-care ritual. I put it on after I shower, and then I put it on before I go to bed.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, that's perfect.
Am I approved?
Yeah. And you can also use it right after a workout as well, or even before a workout. I work with a group of triathletes locally, and they use magnesium cream right before their races, and they've seen that their times have improved every single time they use it. So it's really interesting.
Wow. And so keep going. Go ahead.
I would say it's involved in muscle and energy production in our muscles. So, it really helps your muscles kind of work a little bit harder.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to do that because I work out before I shower. So like throwing it on that. And so when I put it on, I'm usually like feet and legs, arms and hands.
Yeah, that perfect. Right? Yeah. And the beautiful thing is, it's going to get into your system as long as you have it on your skin. Now, anywhere that you have thinner skins, we tend to absorb more. So like, the inside of our arms or chest or abdomen, our skin tends to be much thinner there. So we can absorb it a little bit faster and a little bit more effectively. But as long as you get it on your skin, you're going to be in a good place.
And consistency over time, I would say, is probably key there. So do we need to take an actual magnesium supplement if we're doing the magnesium lotion?
That comes down to your diet. So, I always say you can't supplement your way out of a bad diet. So
amen, sister.
Nobody should be eating a horrible, diet filled with processed foods that have very little nutrients, and then expecting to take a magnesium supplement or use a magnesium cream, and that's going to fix all your problems. It just doesn't work that way. I always say it's like trying to put out a fire with a water gun. It's not going to work, right? So
Amazing. That's a great analogy. Yeah.
so we've got to make sure if you've got a good, solid foundational diet that you're getting lots of variety, you're getting your fruits, your vegetables, your green leafy veggies, your nuts, your seeds, all the good stuff, then you may not need a supplement at all. And you may just be able to use a magnesium cream or take magnesium baths and be perfectly fine.
And that's like why we love talking nutrition and why we love PFC3 and balancing our blood sugar through food, because it's so much around adopting a lifestyle that serves your body and serves your soul, but serves your body more than necessarily serve your soul. And I think that's where a lot of our clients realize that they're able to, because they've adopted a new lifestyle, use the magnesium cream and see really great results without needing the extra supplementation.
Absolutely. Yeah. The more we can get from our diet, the better off we're going to be every single time. Nature does what nature does, But if you are eating, if you're not maintaining what you're supposed to be doing, or, more importantly, if you're going through a season of your life where maybe you're so stressed out, you're kind of eating faster meals, you're not meal prepping as much as you should, namely the holidays. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Christmas comes around, I want to eat all the cookies.
Yeah.
That's a great time to add a magnesium supplement, that pill or powder, just to kind of give you that extra layer of protection.
I love that. Okay. So the thing that I think is so incredible about you is that you didn't just learn about magnesium. You realized that magnesium lotion was such an incredible method or tool, resource for people, but you didn't see what you felt like you needed to see on the market. And as a strong, gritty woman does, you went out to go and fix that. Tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was about 10 years ago, and I was struggling just across the board, anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, muscle aches, pains, that kind of thing. And it was completely disrupting my life. And at the time, I was taking a magnesium supplement. I was eating, a well-balanced diet, exercising, trying
you
to
could
make
rule all of that other stuff out. You were like technically the epitome of modeling health.
doing all the stuff, right? Checking all the boxes. So I was doing everything, but I was still dealing with those symptoms. So, I went to my physician, and she was gracious enough to offer me every single test under the sun. And then she sat me down, she went over the results, and she said, Natalie, there's nothing wrong with you. She's like, you're normal. And then she went on to tell me, this is what happens when a woman turns your age. And this is basically what I could expect for the rest of my life. That was so devastating. It was just awful, right? So, I didn't want to take that level of normal as my level of normal. So that's what really kind of spurred this whole transition in my life. I started researching and learning everything I could. And by fate, I bumped into a stranger at the farmer's market. She was an older woman, and we got to talking, and she's like, have you tried magnesium on your skin? I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think that's not fate. Or fate, it is fate, but it was definitely no accident.
Yes, I agree. I agree. So she's like, try it on your skin, see if you feel better. So I went to my local health food store, bought a bottle of magnesium spray, sprayed it all over. And that night I slept like a rock. I went from sleeping about 2 hours a night to sleeping 6 hours a night within a week.
That
But
must have changed your life.
oh my goodness, I was jumping off the walls. I had so much energy throughout the day. I was a brand new human being. Like, I wasn't snapping at my kids and moody with my husband. It was just a brand new me. And so I thought, okay, this is great, but the spray itched and irritated. It was such a concentrated form of magnesium. It was just so uncomfortable on my skin. So I thought we could do this better. Like, we could come up with a way that makes this accessible to everybody, that makes it a part of your regular everyday routine, so you don't have to take a bunch of pills or powders. And that's what kind of started the trajectory of Rooted In. We worked with 6 different chemists from all around the world over the course of 2 years to develop the most concentrated magnesium cream on the market that works amazingly, but it feels like you're just putting a lotion on your skin.
Yes. And that was my biggest complaint. When my functional medical practitioner told me magnesium cream, I bought the stuff that she told me to buy, and it was greasy. And honestly, it was like fine that I was doing it, but I didn't really feel that much of a difference. right? And so as I've been learning from you, concentration and then the sensory, the feel of it matters so much. And like I literally I have mine always. This is the rest one, which is what I put on every night before I go to bed. When you say rest though, is it a different kind of is it like when you talked about the glycinate for sleep and the malate for energy, is that what makes it the sleep part of it? Or like how did you make this? Because you have one that's like for pain and one that's right for what am I missing? Tranquility, stress. So how are they
Yes.
really different?
They're all made with magnesium chloride. So every single one is made magnesium chloride. And we actually used that study that I mentioned with that 500 milligrams twice per day. So every single teaspoon in our cream has 500 milligrams. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
completely researched. Yeah. So it's completely researched back to make sure that you're getting the correct amount of magnesium in the right form. So they're all magnesium chloride, but each one of our formulas has a different blend of adaptogenic herbs and essential oils to kind of support the mission that we're on. So our rest cream's got the passion flower, the chamomile, the lavender, so all these really soothing, calming herbs in it. Our tranquility, which is my personal favorite, that one's got ashwagandha, rhodiola, tulsi, and then our pain formula has arnica, white willow bark, ginger, comfrey. So all these beautiful herbs that have been used for thousands of years by our ancestors, we've kind of blended that science plus herbal medicine together in one product.
It's game changing. I love this. And this, as soon as I started, I didn't realize there's 500 milligrams in each teaspoon. So I'm definitely getting more than that. And I love that you're like, you can't overdose on the cream. So it changes everything. I know the nights, if I don't use it, my sleep is completely different. It's just,
Totally.
and it's like a part of my routine. Like, your brain actually taps into the routines that you provide for it. So because it's become a part of my routine, it's like my brain knows, oh, it's time to go to bed now. Because this is what we do before we go to bed.
Totally, completely. Yeah, it's easy to implement as part of your routine. It's not sticky, greasy, oily, or anything like that. So you're able
No.
to use it and it feels good.
Yes.
So, and you can use it on your kids. That's one of the things, the biggest complaints that we have, especially from new moms. They just want sleep and their kids are boomeranging out of bed 10 times a night. So you can put it on the bottom of your kids' feet or massage a little into their shoulders, and it helps them as well because children need magnesium too. We spend a lot of time trying to really make sure we're in balance, but making sure our entire family is in balance is also really important.
So much better than giving them melatonin. Please let's
Yes.
not do that. Let's just not do that.
Melatonin's a hormone. We don't mess with hormones.
No, 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 no. So could be a really great compromise on that. And I always talk about our 6 spinning plates and thinking about our overall health and wellness, about balancing these 6 plates: nutrition, movement, managing our stress, sleep, supplementation, and hydration. And when very often we get one plate spinning, another one starts and automatically kind of like, gets better. And that's why I love what you've done here, because it helps spin our sleep plate as well as our stress plate. And obviously then our nutrition as well, because we're absorbing these nutrients that we need so much. And then even our movement plate, because what you were just saying around having magnesium before a workout actually can enhance our performance too when it comes to our muscle strength. So like this one product to me is just so powerful in helping us in so many different areas. So
Yeah. And it also
very impressive. Very impressive.
It also impacts our hydration plate too. So yeah, it's an electrolyte. So
yes, you're right. I know. I've actually I had a hand in making an electrolyte, so I do know this.
Yeah, absolutely. My youngest son is an athlete, so he plays sports, and he's always asking for, the Gatorade or the Prime and all these awful drinks that we do not like him to have. But those drinks have potassium and sodium. They don't have magnesium in it. And we lose when we sweat, we're losing our magnesium. So we've got to replenish that after a workout. So the more, there are brands that, of course, offer much more balanced electrolyte drinks, but you're not going to find them on the shelf of your grocery store. So
Exactly. Oh, that is fabulous. I mean, one thing that gets you so much out of it. And, you know, my whole big thing is when I recommend a product, I want to know the people behind it. And that's why I was so excited to be able to share this with my clients. And it's on our website because I feel so confident. I know you, I know your heart and why you've done what you've done. And it's like, it's almost so crazy because once you kind of got yourself all that energy with magnesium, you just went off and went on a tangent. You had so much energy. You were sleeping so much.
Completely. Yeah. When I tell people, like, it changed everything for me. I really, really mean it. And we see that in so many people, whether they start taking, supplements, whether they're taking simple Epsom salt baths. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. You can get it at the grocery store for like, $3. It's so cheap. But that's a great way to get magnesium in your body. You can even do Epsom salt foot soaks, if you don't have time for a bath or if you don't have a bathtub. So, we see a huge change when people start eating more magnesium in their diet, when they start getting it on their skin by taking baths, using a cream, and then ultimately, if necessary, also adding a supplement to their routine.
I love that kind of hierarchy. It makes so much sense. So what I love is that Natalie has done us all a little favor. And we'll put it in the show notes, but if you go to my website, carrielupoli.com, if you go to my private practice of disruptivenutrition.com or my health pro practice at mypfc3.com, you will see magnesium lotion there. And rooted in, to me, there's just no reason to do anything else. The buck stops here. This is what you need. And you've also given us a little special discount on our first order. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. If they go directly through your link, they will be able to get a special discount that's only available right through your links.
Okay, great. So we'll put all that information in there. And I like the bundle, the try bundle, because I think that's where you need all the things. I have my other ones in the other room. So this one is right behind me. So I'm excited. Natalie, you're the best. You're so knowledgeable. How can people get in touch with you and learn more? Like, they need to be obsessed with your Instagram or TikTok the way I am.
We are on all social media platforms at Be Rooted In, and our website is also Be Rooted In as well. So you can find us. Yep, BE Rooted In. Yep.
Yep, I love that. So make sure you go follow Natalie. Go check out the show notes so you can get your magnesium guide. You can go order your magnesium. And if you have any questions about it, just connect with Natalie on social because she's totally plugged in. I love it. Thank you, Natalie. You're the best. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.